Cyclops jealous!
Do I look nervous?
No.
Where's your answer?
Dennis Bergkamp neemt de bal aan! Dennis Bergkamp! Dennis Bergkamp! Dennis Bergkamp! Dennis Bergkamp! Oh no! Oh yes! He missed it!
Welcome to the Suffering from Joy podcast. My name is Devan. I'm joined here today by Braden from the Football Academy, who will give you all of your betting lines and analysis in Premier League games. You can follow him on Twitter at TFA Braden. And a special first-time guest, we have Ram from the Austin Gooners. That's at Austin Gooners, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Ram, how you feeling?
Hey, I'm feeling top of the world, man. Top of the league.
Top of the league, top of the table?
Top of the table, top of everything. Yeah, feeling great.
I think we're going to level set and just sort of do a free-range Arsenal discussion here. Braden gets to do this with me almost every Monday morning while I'm going through major psychological issues. So, Braden, how are you feeling?
I'm okay. Like, I was very, very disappointed on Sunday after the match. And with some time, and like I told you before we started, I did watch the match again this afternoon. I think I'm feeling a little bit better. It's weird because you always know that a point at Anfield is a good result, full stop. But then you're also 2-0 up, and you should have won a game. And it's a bittersweet feeling for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, the good result at Anfield thing is sort of a bit of a cop-out and just kind of a rote line that makes us feel better a little bit, right? Like, yeah, Liverpool's not where they have been the past few years. They've been really good at home. But like you said, 2-0 lead. I know a lot of people want to do the whole, like, let's blame Xhaka for getting the crowd in it. Like, we also gave up an incredibly stupid ticky-tack goal right after that. So it's kind of both for me.
When I watched it again, I feel the criticism of Xhaka is pretty harsh because in the 10 seconds between that incident and restarting the play and the goal, the crowd was just as silent as they'd been the whole game. So this whole narrative that Xhaka really fired at the crowd, I don't fully buy. I think it was the goal, but it's kind of 6 in one, half dozen another, in my opinion.
Yeah, they kind of come at almost the exact same moment, so it's hard to really dissect. Ram, you were up at the tavern for the game, right?
Yeah, man. We had 266 people at halftime.
Woo!
So this is the fourth time this year that we've had over 200 people. It's been a big year, I think, for the Austin Gooners and football in general in Austin. I'll have to give a shout out like that. But yeah, man, it was a fun match from the beginning to end. I will say this. I know it's easy to be disappointed, and I totally get that, but I was disappointed for maybe 10, 15 minutes after the match, and then I sat and realized it was a game that, yes, of course, we should have won. We were up 2-0, but we also probably could have lost it too because we did allow them to equalize late. They did have a lot of really good chances. Even when we were up 2-0, it wasn't like it was just a one-way, thing going on where we were just dominating. I mean, they had some chances as well. So, the 2-2, I think, just is a fair result, I think, for both teams, right? I mean, we kind of we took the lead in the first half, and Liverpool kind of fought their way back in, obviously, right in the second. So a draw seems fair any which way you look at it. Because, yeah, I watched it again, little bits and pieces today in the afternoon. And, again, I keep going back to this thought process that I keep telling you and in the channels and just people in general. I'm just wanting for us to reach the initial preseason goal of locking down Champions League. And then wherever we are at that point, when that happens, then I'll start thinking about a title chase. But right now, I mean, especially watching City today just absolutely dismantle Bayern Munich. If the fact that we're even toe-to-toe with them and we're ahead of them in the league, it's an incredible thing to witness and to be a part of as a fan. And that's my overall feeling right now. The highs and the lows are all part of it, being a sports fan. So I'm taking it all in. And ultimately, I guess, final answer, as far as the game with Liverpool's concerned, I'm okay with the draw. obviously it would have been cooler to win, but at least we didn't lose. So a draw, fair enough, and we have to just we move. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt a little better looking at the table afterwards, and you blow that 2-0 lead, and you're like, well, a draw feels like a loss, but it really isn't. Actually, getting a point there lets us, as long as we don't lose the city, we can draw at Newcastle or drop a point or 2 points, I guess, somewhere else, and we're still controlling our own destiny. So I think that point's actually going to come up big, or at least I hope it does, obviously.
I hope it doesn't.
Well, yeah, I agree with that too. To take the actual brightest view of this possible, I will be in attendance at the Arsenal Southampton game. Obviously, we have West Ham on Sunday, but if we win that game, and if those accursed Spurs across North London also win this weekend, I will have the chance to be in attendance for the first St. Totteringham's Day since 2016.
That's going to be incredible. Yeah.
Sounds lovely, yes.
And again, that's another thing, to be proud of and celebrate. Again, yes, that right there. And then also, again, the Champions League qualification. I mean, I know we can already talk about it and say hey, it's going to happen, right? The St. Totteringham's thing and Champions League qualification. But, I'm waiting for it to just be mathematically certain. And then, we kind of move on to the next. So, now that you bring that up, I want to see that happen next, and I want you to be there to experience that in the stadium, because that's going to be pretty incredible.
Well, let's beat West Ham on Sunday and worry about that. But I mean, I've been kind of intermittently and not obviously as intense as I build my weekends around watching Arsenal now. But I've been watching this team for 20 plus years, and I think you're having the right approach, going brick by brick, bird by bird, as Anne Lamott would say. And just taking little bits and enjoying them while you can. Braden, do you want to kind of give us your origin story with this team, and then we'll do the same thing with Ram?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it started I think a lot of Americans it starts with the first game that I watched was the Champions League final. So I dealt with shit with this team from the very beginning, and. Then in college I did study abroad in London, and then really just kind of fell in love with the football culture in the same way. It really felt a lot like college football here in the States, which, being a Southerner, I'm a really big fan of. And it just that part of it really spoke to me. Did the stadium tour, that sort of thing, and then just started following Arsenal, and it just felt right from there. It's one of those you have to experience the lows to enjoy the high. There's definitely been some lows.
I mean, the name of this podcast is Suffering from Joy. So.
For sure. Yes. I think Arsenal fits that very, very well. I would agree with that.
Yeah. So what was kind of is this your first real big title run in or title season you've seen? When did you kind of start watching, I don't know, quasi-religiously?
Yeah. So I followed that. So the first season I followed was the one that Eduardo had his leg broken, and just kind of fell apart from there. Although I wasn't fully engaged at that point. I was watching and kind of cheering. And it's also hard to explain to some people these days. It was really hard to watch games then. It was back when Fox Sports would have 2 games on a Saturday and maybe a game on a Sunday if you were lucky, and then it's finding illegal streams from there, and so it was very hard to follow in my opinion, real time like you can now. It's certainly nothing like you can go to a bar and watch every single game,
unless you're in England.
Yeah, which is a weird one. And so I would say probably the first match the first year that I really, really watched religiously, I think was probably the year that Van Persie got sent off against Barcelona. So I got the highs of Arshavin at
4 goals at Anfield.
Emirates. Yeah, 4 goals at Anfield too. So I got those highs and then had to just deal with what still is a mind-boggling decision by a referee. I can't understand it. Even like when Saka kicked the ball away after the offside call this weekend. I was like, yeah, you're never fucking gonna see it again.
Yeah, that's something. Well, I mean, we kind of had something similar with the Martinelli double yellow. You're never going to see that again. But I think to this day, have PTSD from that. But let's switch over to Ram. Ram, you're a little newer to the game, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always enjoyed the international game much longer than I have like club, right? So, I guess my origin story with football would be watching the World Cups. And I think the first game I remember watching was actually the USA Women's final in '99 against China at the Rose Bowl. Like, that's like what I always tell people. That was my very first soccer game where I really just got into the pageantry, understood everything, or just understood how big the sport was. And then, yeah, I guess in the aughts, I think I said that right. Like in the 2010 and on,
I'm not going to correct you. Call it whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. So post 2010, we'll say I started to get into the Premier League a little bit more. Couldn't really at that point. You can get a few more games or access to a few more games. So I just kind of just watched whatever was on. I decided after the 2014 World Cup when Tim Howard had his spectacular game.
Secretary of Defense night.
Yeah, I decided, you know what team does he play for? Let me root for them. And it was Everton. Well, Everton's been mid-table for God knows how long. And so they were never on TV. And I didn't know anybody here in Austin who watched Everton. So that fanship lasted about 5 or 6 games. And then I'm like, whatever. Like, I'll just keep watching. And then 2018 is we'll just cut to the good part of the story, right? 2018 is when I decided to pick a team. And one of my best friends, all my life, or since high school, his name's Chris Rubio. Give him a shout. He's always been an Arsenal fan. I've always known of Arsenal and always seen him, talk about him or whatever. So, and I knew that he would go to the tavern all the time to watch the games. So I think at one point during the summer leading up to the 2018 season, I was like, hey man, like, what do I do? Do I gotta like sign up or I gotta RSVP? He's like, no, man, just show up, man. And just show up, wear some red and yeah, enjoy the game, meet people. And so that's what I did. It was the first game of Unai Emery's reign. That didn't last very long. I still remember the game, Arsenal against Man City, 2-0 to Man City. It was not close at all.
We actually played halfway decent in that game too.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Was that the one that Leno almost kicked it, or not Leno? Czech almost kicked it in his own net, or was that like the next game?
No. That was that one. It was a lot of basically an Unai Emery team, right? It was a lot of like, what the hell am I looking at? And then also like, okay, there's some, I get, what the idea is. And then it was just, but more so of like, oh man, like this is bad. So yeah, I think as far as like right now, this season for me is peak because I joined, I feel like at rock bottom and I have never seen Arsenal be good. I mean, the FA Cup run post COVID and during the COVID restart was like so far the best that I've seen Arsenal look. And that was fun. And so that's why I think that really – so for me, when people bring up, past things that happened that might have been bad or good, like all these kinds of things, on one hand, like they don't necessarily mean anything to me because I didn't experience them, right? So like I can't imagine a world where Arsenal bottle a title because, well, I've never seen that happen. But I also haven't experienced Arsenal winning a title either. So, but I go back and I watched the tape. I watched '89. I read the book about the Invincibles that Amy Lawrence wrote. So, as I've become a fan, like I've kind of gone back, and then COVID was also a great opportunity to like watch a ton of YouTube videos. I remember I found a website that had a ton of like old FA Cup champions. So I watched a bunch of FA Cup wins, right? Just on YouTube or whatever. So I've been able to like build up my knowledge of the history and understanding of like the gravity that Arsenal has as a club. But for the most part, I feel like this title chase it's almost just like a clean slate for me because like, this is brand new. Everybody I've seen who's on the team right now, I've seen them either come up through the youth levels, like Bukayo Saka, or I've seen them come in and just kind of take reign, like Gabi Jesus or Zinchenko. So it's just all like, for me anyway, regardless of what happens, like I feel like this is my christening as a fan because, again, I've experienced mostly lows, and so I feel like I've earned my stripes, but I've also like seen how great it can be. And so, and yeah, even last year, bottling the top 4, like that hurt. And like, but I felt at that point, I was like, yeah, man, like I'm not going anywhere. I think at one point, Chris drunkenly told me, like, I think it was during that really horrible run during Arteta's like second year, I think, or first, not second year, the year that we had no fans at all. It was like a terrible run. And I think he drunkenly told me one time, he's like, hey man, like if you switch teams right now, like I wouldn't even hate you. And I'm like, nah, bro, like I'm in, like I have to, I'm in. Yeah, I'm already in. Like I don't team hop. I picked the team and I decided like, hey man, whatever happens, like I'm in it. So yeah, that's sort of my Arsenal story.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to accuse you of being a bandwagoner if you were hanging out during the Emery days.
Yeah, exactly. So I've earned it, but damn it. So I'm enjoying it to the fullest. And if I could just keep on rambling and just say like, that's, I think, the number one reason why the first opportunity I hopped on the chance to like handle Austin Gooners, like the social media for the group, just because for me it was just a way to kind of give back and also just get into the team, into the culture, into the the community or whatever. Like for me, that was my buy-in, right? Like, so in order to make the proper announcements, I need to know all the facts. I need to know who we're playing. I need to know the name of the stadium. I need to know where it's going to be broadcast. I got to know the little storylines. For me, it's a hobby at this point, but I kind of take it, as serious as like a side hustle, because again, it's what I get out of being a fan. Like this is my opportunity to like put it back in, and it's been fun. Again, it's a two-way thing as far as like it benefits me, but I also feel like I can really be proud of like what the Austin Gooners do as a group, and again, just be proud of the team whenever I watch them.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's a lot more fun with more people and more goals and more winning.
Yes,
100%. So I guess you've never even seen like an Arsenal Champions League game, really?
Never. No. I mean, again, that's just for me. That's like like campfire tales, man. You're like, what? They play in the Champions League final and what? No way.
No. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to lose to either Bayern Munich or Barcelona in the quarterfinals. Take your pick, flip a coin.
I was going to say, be prepared for all your friends to be weirdly nervous about whoever the round of 16 matchup is.
I get it. Yeah. I'm totally, I understand. And I'm feeling the same. I'll feel the same way too. Like because I feel nervous right now watching City, hoping that they lose, like I'm like, God, like this is a big game. Like that's how I felt today. So, and I felt the disappointment when they went up 2-0 and 3-0. Like, yeah, it's starting to become a reality. Like, oh man, like this is it.
So I guess let's get down to brass tacks a little bit here. We have 8 games left. We're 6 points ahead of City, who have 9 games left. So we can kind of call it 3. City sort of, banging on destroying the world at the moment, beating everybody by 1 million goals. City's max points, which would include beating us, is 94. Our max points, which would include beating City, obviously 97. For City to go undefeated to the end of the season would require them to win 14 straight Premier League games, which would be the 4th highest of all time. 2 of those were the year that City scored over 100 or totaled over 100 points. And them and Liverpool, literally neither of them lost a game after February. Mm-hmm. So it would take some sort of record level City destroying people. They have Haaland, they have De Bruyne, they have plenty of people. It's not unheard of, and I mean, a lot of this, I guess, Ram has sort of received wisdom for you, but Braden and I have definitely lived it, where anything that can go wrong will. And, City's just going to beat everybody by 20 goals, and like it's a foregone conclusion. They're going to just mop everybody up. And I don't think that's realistic just from my watching of the Premier League. And I think it's actually helped a little bit, us kind of being out of the title race for the past, feels like forever. But not even in the Champions League places the past few years. And I don't, famous last words, right? I don't see City going undefeated. I'm not going to pick out like, hey, they're going to lose to this team. But like they've lost and dropped a lot of just like completely out of nowhere random points. They, drew at home to Frank Lampard's Everton. So I guess I'm going to open this up. I'll start with Braden. Like, do you think City are going to, like, let's take the Arsenal game out of the equation. The other 8 games they have in the league, do you think they're going to run the table?
I don't think so. I mostly agree with you. I think something is going to surprise us along the way. And there's this weird thing that I've noticed is that lots of people are saying that Brighton home is a very tricky game for us, which I think fair enough. It's a game we can definitely drop some points in. But no one is saying that Brighton away is going to be a tricky game for City. And I think it will be. Like especially when it's scheduled. Brighton can play well at the Amex. So I'm going to hold out a little bit of hope for there, but also just some of these teams fighting relegation can put up some really weird results. I think it's trickier against teams that are in a title race that are going to be more focused than maybe a team that's just gunning for top 4 or trying to slide into Europa League spot. I think that's tougher, but I definitely think that there is a good chance that they drop points other than Arsenal. That's what I meant. At some point along the way.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a little bit of a weird year, too, with how many teams are in the relegation fight, how many teams are still kind of playing for some level of Europe. Like, Aston Villa a few weeks ago was almost in relegation talk, and now they're in 6th. So there's not really anybody who's like kind of on the beach yet, maybe Fulham, but, and I guess, in theory, Chelsea, but that's its own new thing. We would have an entire podcast about that.
Chelsea have been on the beach since the season started.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, it's not your normal dynamic where you have like maybe a couple mid-table, well, we don't have anything to play for teams. So it's even weird for like a normal year. But Ram, I'll go same question to you. Let's take the Arsenal City game out of the equation. Do City win the rest of their games?
As I was listening, I was looking at the schedule and trying to pick out besides like that Brighton game, because yes, I think Brighton away at the Amex is tough. I mean, they play really tough at home. They are aggrieved, right? They should have won or at least drawn that game against Tottenham. So like they're in the mix. But I also think Everton is also going to be one of those teams at the end that is fighting relegation, and then they do play Chelsea and then Brentford after that. So that's 3 tough games for City to end the season, on top of like what else they might have to be doing with Champions League, with the FA Cup. And we looks like we both play West Ham. They play Leeds. Fulham is there. Yeah, so I think they're going to go on an unbeaten streak, or they are on an unbeaten streak right now. But I think they end up dropping points late is kind of what I'm feeling, because sure, they're looking good right now, but we are going to play them as well. And yeah, you said take us out of the equation, but yeah, so those other games, I feel like they are going to drop 1, 2, maybe even 3 points total. And I think that obviously bodes well for us. But yeah, like as you said, as long as I've watched the Premier League, and again, I've watched it as a neutral for more time. I've watched it as a neutral longer than I've actually watched it as an Arsenal fan, and lots of crazy stuff happens toward the end of the season. So I'm kind of just banking on that continuing to happen, even though like this is just another kind of beast that we're looking at with City, man. I mean, with all the money that they have and with all the cheating that I'm alleging that they're doing, it's crazy, man. And again, I just keep thinking like the fact that we are toe to toe with them, and in fact ahead of them on the table, is absolutely incredible, especially where we are in our process, in our project. Like we're ahead of schedule, man. So it's like, yeah, I feel like they're going to drop points, because I feel like the pressure is on them, because yeah, it's almost a foregone conclusion that they're supposed to win the Premier League on top of the Champions League. And I think the pressure is going to get to them at some point. Yeah, that's just how I feel.
So I'm going to answer this, but I'll ask the question first. What points total do you think Arsenal needs to hit to win the league? And my answer right now, I'm going to say is 91. Ram?
I'm going to say, I've read plenty of things on the internets and have done my own little math, but I think 91 does it.
Braden?
I'm going to go with 92. One loss, hopefully against us, and that puts them at 92. Or that puts them at 91, at us needing 92 to beat them.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and hit this now. City's currently 5 goals ahead of us on goal differential. Considering the amount of points we'd have to drop to actually like match up on points, I don't see a way we catch them, especially the way they're murdering everybody in their path at the moment. Do you guys see that any different? Like, I think even if we start winning games 3-4 goals, like we're still not going to catch them.
I think we are too murdering teams. Maybe not as rough as City are doing, but we have won 3-0, 4-1, 4-0. We got to get some clean sheets, I think. So I think that'll help us a little bit. But yeah, if you look at our form, I mean, it's 3-0 against Fulham, 4-1 against Palace, 4-1 against Leeds, and then of course a 2-2 draw. But we're starting to pick up a little bit of steam. And then I didn't mention the Everton win. That was another 4-1 win. So I think as much as people are saying, wow, like, City are doing this, they're doing that, like, hey, Arsenal is doing this and that at the same time as well. So I think we can for sure get on a little bit of a hot streak ourselves. I think we are on a hot streak ourselves. So West Ham and Southampton are the perfect opponents to kind of kickstart again a run at that goal differential number.
Whatever wood is near you, start knocking on it right now.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I'm just saying, man. I feel it. It's yeah, of course, right. Things could always go the other way, but I feel like I feel pretty confident in the way things are looking for us. Obviously, nothing's set in stone and anything can happen, but I feel like the mentality that the things I see in the press and just the way that players respond, everybody's on the same message and everybody's on the same page. And I think, we have a lot of players too that I think, sure, maybe not in the Premier League, maybe not together as a group. They've not done this before, but individually in their careers, we have plenty of players that have at least been in title races, right? Like, I mean, I believe like Trossard has been one when he was in the Belgian league. Tierney, obviously, right? Jesus and Zinchenko, they've all been in title chases. So they've all been in positions where, the stakes are high. Not as high as the Premier League, but, we may be a little bit of green again as a team, as a unit right now, but we have some leaders on that squad, man. And I feel like we're gonna also be a force to be reckoned with as well.
I actually think Trossard won the league. Obviously, it's the Jupiler Pro League, so it's not the Premier League against Manchester City, who has $1 trillion. But I think AirPod Albert was the coach at Genk when Trossard won the league there, or he was at least a coach or something like that. Mm-hmm. Braden, are we catching him on goal difference?
So it's funny that I think we kind of mentioned Jesus, because there's a thing that I often remember around this time, where right about this time last year, Jesus kind of kicked it up another gear. Like, he had missed a lot of chances earlier in the season. Does that sound familiar to anyone? And then he pops up in a match and scores 5 goals. And so I do think that Gabriel Jesus can be a little bit of a streaky player. And I do think if he can get hot a little bit, I think we've got a shot at it. I think it's a long shot because, they've got a guy who might set the Premier League, not just set the Premier League record for goals, but just like blow it away. So that's obviously a concern. But all you can do is go out there and try, and kind of like, I do hope that we're thinking of the opportunity. So, if we're up 2-0 at halftime against a West Ham or someone, like, maybe we don't take the foot off the gas. Like, maybe we just keep going for it and try to put 4 or 5 on. because I think that's what we're going to have to do if we want to try to catch them. And I think we do need to try to catch them. Like, you can work yourself into a little bit of trouble, but like honestly, if West Ham catches you because you were trying to score more goals, you probably weren't good enough to win the title anyways. So I don't know. We got to go for it, but it's going to be real, real hard.
Agreed. It's going to be real, real hard no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you thought this was going to be easy, you are following the wrong team.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of people who got lulled into a false sense of security at 2-0 on Sunday against Liverpool, and I was just like, "Don't taunt your fucking kill, guys!" Like, something's gonna happen, and like, obviously, I didn't expect like what happened, but I was just like, done this too many times. Just wait, and like, I famously still think the 2019 St. Louis Blues are not going to win the Stanley Cup, even though that's been done for 4 years at this point, just because they're so cursed and they always fuck it up. And I don't have exactly the same level with Arsenal, but it's very similar. And obviously the name of this podcast is partially about both of those teams, where you're ahead and you're just like, all you can feel is utter fucking dread.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we've talked about this in the Slack chat, where I kind of compared this team, or the way it feels, right? Like watching, because I've watched a lot of basketball, is the 2014 San Antonio Spurs. And exactly what you're saying, the finals, the rematch against the Miami Heat in game 5, in games like 2 through 5, 3 through 5, San Antonio won each game by like an average of 20 points or something like that. They led from beginning to end, but because of the previous year where we lost in 7 and gave up a 3-2 lead, like every single game, I just remember being like, oh, we're up 15. Oh, we're up 20. We need to be up 30, man. We need to keep doing it. Like, I was so terrified that we were just going to lose it because, I mean, that's just what you do, right? You expect it to happen. So, yeah, as much as I'm saying, I'm on here and I go about saying like, yes, I feel so confident. But in the game, I mean, at the tavern, I was pacing. I don't think I watched the game in any one spot for more than like 5 or 6 minutes because I was just like, I can't do this, man. I got to go somewhere else. Because everything I was like, this happened because I was standing here. Let me go stand where we scored the goal and then, or whatever, So it's, yes, there's definitely that big sense of dread. I totally agree.
So one thing I kind of wanted to mention as well is that if we think about the City team this year, some of the times they've slipped up have been when it's looked like they've been in control. So if you remember when we lost to them in the league earlier this year, and like all those things came out, it's like, oh, well, City's good. Like, that's it. Arsenal got caught, and now City are just going to cakewalk to it. They lost the next weekend at Nottingham Forest.
Yep,
like,
a draw.
Okay, that's whatever. That's a loss.
Draw's a loss. I agree with you, but
yeah, they drop points. Yeah,
okay, yeah, drop points, whatever. But and like we took care of business, and we haven't looked back since. And so there's an element, I think, that if the City team can feel comfortable about where they are against in the league, maybe they drop some of that concentration a little bit. Especially since I think that what they really, really want this year is the Champions League. I think so.
Absolutely.
Fingers fucking crossed, man.
The big thing that's bothering me is that Brentford away is their last game of the year instead of, like 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot more useful if it were higher up in the schedule. And I'm hoping Brighton doesn't get pushed to the same thing where, PGMOL fucks them out of Europe and they have nothing to play for anymore.
Yeah, Tony's suspension will definitely come down that week.
Yeah.
If that happens, I will be very upset. Just let him finish out the season, man.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you might as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, don't even get me started on the PGMOL stuff. That shit is something else. But
no, there will be hours and 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 hours of rage content if Arsenal lose the league by goal differential or 1 point from the Brentford defrauding that Lee Mason put on us.
Yeah,
again,
ultimately,
for the second
yes.
time this year.
If it's fair and square, if everything's fair and square, win, lose, or draw, it's easier to accept, right? And that's why I'm just enjoying the ride because I'm just like, as long as we As long as I see the team I'm supporting putting in effort, like, and which they have been, and they've never shrunken at any. They've answered every call so far. Even in the games they've lost or drawn or whatever, like they've showed up. I've never finished a game and said like, man, we shit the bed this today. But as long as I see that, like whatever happens, it'll happen, man. It's out of my control. All I can do is support. So, I just don't want any of that outside nonsense to be something you think about or talk about for years to come, right? It's just like, hey, ultimately, man, like fair play to City, even though it's not really fair play. Like, hey, they never lost, right? And then whatever. Like if that's the worst case scenario, like you got to just tip your hat to them at some point. But I hope they're tipping their hats to us is what I'm hoping for. But
that would require City to have fans.
That's
and not just
exactly.
AI bots.
I wish we had City fans to banter, because I think this would have made it a lot more this title run a lot more exciting if there was actual fans to like going back and forth and banter, because it's really just like Liverpool fans and United fans, selling themselves and rooting for City. Like that's what it's been, and it's like it's so ridiculous, man. Like imagine if Tottenham was in a title race. Like I don't care who they're in a title race with. Like I would never be like, oh, come on, let's just get Tottenham to win the league, like so somebody else doesn't win it. Like, nah, fuck
exactly.
That. Like, fuck that.
I know Mikel has said he's had some wild dreams, but that's a bridge too far for me to even imagine.
Again, yeah, good point. Yeah, touche. Like, LOL at the idea of Tottenham chasing the league, but if they were, I'm not rooting for them. Hell no.
No, and I mean that's the thing with City. Like everybody knows it kind of doesn't matter, and it's all fake anyway. So it's easy to just be like, yeah, like let's not let these other people who actually like are invested in their club, and we don't want to give them any joy. And obviously, we have the whole August 6th thing going on, and that was just a little bit of banter that's kind of gone wild, but I'm really enjoying it.
I love it.
Braden, do you know about this? I think I sent you it.
I don't think so.
Okay, so essentially we have this like Austin FC group chat, and the first game of the year, obviously we played on a Friday, beat Crystal Palace. The early game the next day was Fulham Liverpool, and Liverpool and Fulham drew. So I took a screen cap of the table, just being like, haha, Arsenal's never going to finish above Liverpool. Like, check this out. And some Liverpool fan got super flustered about it and started like screaming at me. He was like, "Oh, well, this is the last day of the year that Arsenal will be at the top of the table." So I just like every time we win a game or like a week passes by, I just repost it.
Hell yeah,
that's fantastic. That is fantastic.
Yeah,
it's great.
Support that.
100%. Yeah, I love it. I caught on. Yeah, after a few weeks, I was like, wait a minute, like this is still a thing. Like let's keep it going. Like I'm all about the banter, man. Give me more of it.
And I mean, the whole point was like, I was pretty optimistic about this season, but I would have given us like maybe 5% chance because we're way ahead of where I thought we'd be. I thought Chelsea would fall off. United's not that great, no matter what their fans will tell you.
Right.
You could see Liverpool is going to fall off. City I thought would be actually probably about where they are. But I was just like, okay, like we have a good run, like some things go our way, like maybe we'll be up there in the conversation. And obviously, even those optimistic considerations we've exceeded.
Yeah.
But it's just a fun bit of banter. And I think that's been part of this season too, is it's not just, oh, great, we're winning games like in a very business-like fashion, like kind of some of the later the Invincibles or the O2 team where it's just like, yep, got our goal. And, nice day out at the park and we won our game and let's go ahead and go home and enjoy ourselves. It's a lot more fun than previous seasons. So I don't know if you've seen that differently or like Braden, do you got to, either like bars with other teams or kind of the local Atlanta thing at all?
Yeah. So the bar that we go to at Brew House is it's a very multi-team bar. Like it's kind of like international waters in a lot of ways. Like
Nice.
like people enjoy some good-natured fun, but like it doesn't go beyond that.
Okay.
No, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say the tavern is like it's Arsenal bar through and through. We do get rival fans showing up every now and then, but it's always a handful. But no, they're always drowned out. I think the loudest we had was United fans showing up for the second match at the Emirates, and they were loud when Rashford scored their goal. But as time went on, they kind of snuck out because regardless of that scoreline, I remember that game. It was pretty much Arsenal most of it, right? So yeah, I think from the beginning of the season, there was some hype because there was so much excitement, and I think it's carried on because like all the games are just exciting matches, and we definitely won those first 3 or 4 or 5 matches, I think, pretty convincingly, and I think it's just kind of kept on ever since. Like we definitely were chanting "We are top of the league" that Friday afternoon against Crystal Palace. Like,
Yeah,
of course,
fun.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
It's been great, and so yeah, I don't even know where I was going to go with all that rambling, but at the tavern, it's been just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think I've been for 6 or 7 games this year, and every single time it's either super packed or if it's not, to capacity, it's everybody there is the loudest people that ever show up.
Yeah.
And it's always nice, like, you get some people in from out of town. There's always something going on in Austin. Somebody just drops by and you meet new people, and it's always a little nice. But this sort like the Liverpool game, and I think a lot of the run-in games, I can't watch those games around other people or I will lose my shit over somebody saying some dumb fucking thing because I take it way too seriously.
Yeah.
Be like, oh yeah, well, no, I really thought that was a penalty, a great call by Paul Tierney, and like I'm gonna drag this person down a fucking staircase type of thing.
Yeah. Well, there's a guy. I don't know if you've met him. His name's Michael. He's a guy from London. He's super chatty, but he's a great guy. He's a fun guy to watch the games with. But he's the same way as you said. Like big games, he actually can't even watch them. Like he wasn't going to watch the Liverpool game. He never watches the Tottenham matches. Like he's like, I will do anything else but watch the game. Like he goes, I'll have my phone and just look at the score. And then he even described how he looks at the score. It's not just like pulling the score up, but he will have it like tracking on his home screen, and then he'll just cover it with his hand, and then he'll just look at it his side. And he goes, if we have the longer we go, we have 0 or 1 goal or whatever, like, I might not move my hand. But if it's like we got 2 or 3, then I might check what the score is. But he goes, on top of that, like he can't even watch. And I totally get it. I totally get that. Like I'm still debating on whether to go to the tavern for the City match, just because again, the way I was acting at that Liverpool match, I was like, I might have to like just watch by myself.
I mean, it should be lower key on a kind of a Wednesday afternoon, but I do know Michael. He's good people. But I guess the other side of that too, I can't watch like, so this was a lot easier last year when we were going up against Spurs, and like Spurs are fucking awful to watch, like period, just from like a pure soccer football standpoint. So that was a lot easier. And like, I've never been one of those people who like can watch City because I think they're boring as shit, but like they attack, like they play decent ball. I didn't look at I will literally find things for myself to do during their games so I don't look because I think it's bad luck. And if they're going to drop points, it's going to be when I'm like not looking at the score or something like that. Like it's completely ridiculous. Obviously, Erling Haaland's scoring touch has nothing to do with whether I'm like mowing the lawn or something in the morning.
Right.
But like this game makes us fucking insane.
What if it does?
Yeah. Seriously. I mean, it's a little different. You're used to watching Alabama win title after title, so you don't have this like, holy shit, this might never happen again type of thing. But do you guys have any like superstitions or anything going on right now?
Yes. I'll start. Yeah. I listen. So this happened actually from, this is just in the most recent run. The last time we lost against Everton, right? That 1-0 loss, like at 6:30 in the morning. I usually from my apartment to the tavern, I usually grab I just hop on a bus because I could take a bus 20 minutes and I'm right in front of the tavern. So I do
You
that.
don't have to drive home.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly. But I always listen to music, and I always try and wear like the most recent kit or whatever, right? But this Everton match, like I rushed or whatever, and I was listening actually to an Arsblog, like the Patreon pregame podcast or whatever. Like I just wanted to listen to it right before the game because I was like I didn't kind of keep up with it this week or whatever. And then I wore like the I forget what year it was. It was one of the third jerseys. It just wasn't the most recent one, and we lost. And then the very next week, I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna listen to a playlist of like just music that I like to listen to, and I'm gonna wear our most recent home kit." And then we ended up like winning against Villa like the next week, I think it was. And then just every single week, like I always wear the home kit, and I always listen to the same playlist that I made right before hopping on the bus to go to the tavern. And every week it's worked. I mean, Liverpool, again, it's a draw, but we didn't lose. We're unbeaten. So like, I'm going to wear the same home kit and listen to the same playlist on my way to the tavern on Sunday.
Okay, so if there's ever like a bus driver strike, we're fucked.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, or if there's like an EMP, well, I guess there are the other reasons why we couldn't deal with that. But
EMP is pretty dramatic there.
Yeah, well, we're talking about the fucking title, Braden. There's nothing too dramatic.
Excuse me.
Yes. Do you have any superstitions you're going with right now?
So I don't actually. I've been pretty zen about it. Like, there's been lots of times I've used to do superstitions and been like, the lucky shirt doesn't help. The lucky like boxers don't help. So like, it's probably all just going to play out how it plays out. So I haven't really done the superstitions in a while. Like there are certain places that, like when I go into the bar, there's certain places I like to sit, and things have seemed to be better there at times. So I try to get there, but nothing too crazy. Yeah, like I don't do any sort of specifics because you got to keep your sanity somehow.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's sort of how those go, though, is like it's a little bit of order in your universe when you know you can't control anything. I had one, so I have this old school, really beat up Dreamcast Dennis Bergkamp kit that I would only wear like once or twice a season when we really, 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 really needed to win. I wore it last year during the Tottenham away game where Cedric totally didn't commit a foul and give away a stupid penalty, but Paul Tierney was the referee.
Yeah.
And so that's been sort of retired. I've been trying anytime Gabriel Jesus is starting to where I have a pink kit from this year. It doesn't say Jesus. It says just Jesus on it. Because I wanted to do the John Tortoro, you don't fuck with the Jesus type of thing on the back of it. So I've been trying to wear that when he's starting, but like it's been a little choppy and weird, and like it's worked the past couple of weeks, I guess, in theory, because he scored. But I'm kind of with you. I'm at least on this level. I'm past. I don't know about past, but like I haven't been doing much with superstition. I am shitting my brains out trying to figure out which jersey I have to wear to the Southampton game, though, because I have probably 25 fucking Arsenal home kits, and I'm like, well, I can't wear an away or a third. If I'm actually going to the Emirates, it's got to be a home kit. So I'm like, okay, well, does this one still fit? Like, is it bad luck to wear a Fabregas kit or something like that? Like, I don't think
Dare
I really
you
wanna...
wear a Theo Walcott?
I don't have one. Aaron Ramsey is another choice, but that's the a Puma kit, and I'm not sure I'm exactly in shape enough to do that at the moment.
There were some people at the tavern. It was like 5 people that all wore the kit. The last time that Arsenal beat Liverpool at Anfield, like
2012, yeah,
they were wearing that kit, that away kit.
Jesus,
and they were all sick. Yeah, it was a purple kit. Yeah, and they were all like, "Yeah, this is the last time we beat him at Anfield." I'm like, I see it. I see the vision. I get it. I understand it. And I mean, whatever. I mean, right? I mean, yeah, superstitions. None of it is real. None of this is real. But like, as you said, like it's our way to like control our little universe. Because, and for me, even like not even going to the tavern is the thing. Because I've missed some games going to the tavern. Because like the Bournemouth game, I watched at home in my new apartment. Like I just moved and I was like tired. As I'm not going to go to the tavern, but I still put on my home kit and I still played the same music before the game as I was like making breakfast. And I was like, because I have to maintain it. And yeah, I was a little nervous, right? I was like, damn it, it's not going to work. But then sure enough, it happened.
Well, yeah, because I scored 9 seconds in the fucking game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna
oh, fuck.
Did at any point you reconsider not going? Like, were you like, I got to go?
Exactly. As soon as I missed the first like 30 seconds because I'm making my breakfast and I'm serving myself, and then I go into the TV room. I'm like, what's all this commotion? I was like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. I was like, and in my head, the one time I decided not to go to the tavern, like, and I don't always like drink at the tavern, but I always just go to go. And I was like, the one time I didn't go, this is what fucking happens. I was like, let me like see what's up with the Uber. Like, let me get there quick. But I was like, nah.
Yeah.
And then we ended up winning, and I was like, I should have just gone to the tavern.
See, if you took the Uber instead of the bus, we wouldn't have fucking won. So you made the right decision.
I made the right decision. You're right. Yeah. So, so many. Yeah. See, already, and there's 8 games to go. There's so many cool memories of this season, and there's going to be so many cool ones coming up. So
that was actually going to be the game I went to instead of Southampton, but I had a weird conflict, so I couldn't go. And now I'm like, fuck, I would have been losing my goddamn mind for 95 minutes, but that would have been a great game to go to.
Oh, yeah. My friend, the guy I do like the weekly show with, didn't go to the game, but he was watching from his house, and he lives right around the corner from the Emirates. Mm-hmm. And he said watching the game, like he actually heard the crowd go nuts about 30 seconds before the actual
ball
goal.
Went in.
So he's like, fuck, what just happened? Like, what the fuck just happened? And he just kept watching, like, holy fuck. And then it happened. He's like, yeah, he lost his shit. He said the surprise was like, it got ruined a little bit, but he goes like, I mean, what can you do, right? Like streaming proximity to the Emirates, like it is what it is. But it was still like
Emirates Stadium. Could you keep it down over there?
Yeah, exactly.
Neighbors, thank you very much.
Come on, bros.
Okay, I want to take a little different tack here. Sort of reminded me of something, and let's start with Braden. What's been your favorite game of the season so far? And don't worry, I'm Mr. Depressive. We're going to take it back a different way and bring all the fun feelings back down. So let's start with your favorite game and why.
This is tough because I think there's been a lot of really good ones this season to choose from. But I like a little bit of Schadenfreude. So I'm going to go with Villa. And the ball bouncing off of Emi Martinez to give us the win. It just like inject it into me.
Yeah, so actually the guy I sit next to at Austin FC games is a big Aston Villa fan. And right after the game, he was like, yeah, I can't believe they let that goal stand, like the John McGinn goal. And I was just like, you would have to be out of your, like even PGMOL would have to be out of their fucking minds to mark that one off for like a screen. In front of the keeper. But yeah, I mean, that game sucked for about an hour or so. And I do like some Schadenfreude. I really like the last goal of that game too, with the Christ the Redeemer pose.
Elite.
Also fantastic, yes.
Yeah, because I always think of Martinelli as sort of this like nice, kind of shy guy who just keeps his head down and works really hard. And I was just like, okay, he's taking the piss a little bit. I love this. Nice.
Yeah.
Ram, how about you?
I'm going to go back to October and the reverse fixture when we played Liverpool at the Emirates because I still remember the moment leading up to the game. I'm watching with some buddies and I was just recalling, I was like, bro, we haven't, like last year we played 4 games against them and we didn't score a single goal. Like we're due. And then 57 seconds in, Martinelli scores that banger. And I was just like, I thought I called it. I was like, this is incredible. Like no fucking way. And then the whole game was just like back and forth, emotional. You could see the team growing up in front of our eyes. And all the goals were just absolutely spectacular. And then, Saka finishes it off with the penalty. You had Peter Drury with his, usual poetic commentary. And then like
a moment in time.
Yeah, this is courage. Like, like a little bit over the top, like, oh my God. But at the same time, like you appreciate that kind of like framing. Right. And for me, I was like, that's it, man. And then just the commentary he had afterwards and just how like like this was the moment. I think that was actually the moment where I started thinking like, we've got something going on here. Like this is kind of cool. I wanted to keep going. But yeah, I would pick that as my favorite game so far.
That was a close second for me. My wife and
Mhm.
I were in Miami for that game and ran into like a random gooner from Highbury in Miami at a bar, and so like
Oh
going
yeah.
crazy the whole time, fantastic. And then at the end we were like, well, do we want to go get Cubans? And like just continue the day. It was fantastic.
Yes, yes, you do.
I think there was actually even, if I recall correctly, an Austin FC match that same night, because Liverpool was in the morning, and I think we won an emphatic game because that was last season, right? I can't remember exactly what game it was, but it was a pretty fun day overall because it was just football in the morning and then a little break and then football at night, and it was just a beautiful day overall.
That might have
That's
been
weird. I don't think Atlanta played last year.
Oh, we remember. We definitely played you guys last year. Glad we're not on your schedule this year. I think that might have been the same day as the FC Dallas playoff game
Uh,
because Leeds was the same day as RSL, and I'm pretty sure Liverpool was in October.
yeah, it was in October. Yeah, I don't exactly. Yeah, it was a fun day. That's all I remember. So I was very
Yeah.
exhausted by the end of it because again, drinking early for the Liverpool game. But I did, it was just fun. Like you're amongst friends and doing the shit you love to do, man. It was great.
Yeah. I have kind of two answers that are a little bit squished together, and they're the two games right after the World Cup. So we go down on kind of a clunky, dumb goal to West Ham on a first game back. And I'm just like, all right, well, that's been fun. Like, I had a great time. Like, okay, City's going to overtake us. Da, 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 da. Very business-like. Come back, a lot of fun. Win the game. You're nervous to begin with, but by the end, you're kind of like, oh, this is easy. Like, what were you worried about? And
Mhm.
then we do the same thing and just destroy Brighton the next, I think it was like 3 or 4 days later, at Brighton. And at the time, a lot of people didn't think much about it and, watch a lot of Premier League. And I was just like, no, this team's really, really fucking good.
Yeah.
And we let them back in late, which I think was a little bit of a portent of things to come because we've been giving up some bad goals late in games lately. But yeah, like we just brushed them aside like it wasn't anything. And it was Martinelli, Saka, Nketiah, and I don't remember who the fourth was.
Odegaard, because that's what
Odegaard,
he did.
but it was the entire front four scored.
Yeah, that's where he did his basketball celebration. That was
Oh
fun.
yeah, okay.
I remember that one. Yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah, because Saka scored in like the second minute, and you're just like, I was watching that. I was visiting my parents in South Texas, and my dad is not a huge soccer fan, and I just been talking about Arsenal this, and he was like, "All right, I'll watch this game with you." And then within 2 minutes, I was like, "Boom, told you, bro! Like, we're good at this." So that's a cool day. That was a cool match.
Nice. So now we have to make it sad because that is sort of the theme of this podcast in some ways.
Damn it.
Which game are you least looking forward to the rest of the season? And Braden went first last time. Ram, you got to go here.
Damn it. Okay, give me just half a second while I pull up the schedule again.
Sure, and I can go first if it's easier while you look at this. My answer is
okay. Go ahead.
Is unequivocally Chelsea because nothing good can come from that game. Like I have some just terrible idea that like either refereeing or like Mudryk will come on for 10 seconds and score 2 goals or some shit like that. And I mean, like I hope that doesn't happen, obviously, and I don't think it will. But like I'm very hesitant and karmic with all of the like, oh, haha, fuck Chelsea, Frank Lampard shit, and I'm just like, we're tempting fate. We're tempting fate. Nothing good can come of this. God damn it.
Fair enough.
So that's my answer. Ram, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I got mine. It'll be the very next week against Newcastle away. I thought that one still rings, and I recently watched All or Nothing again, just because I like to put myself through emotional roller coasters. And if I recall correctly, last season that Newcastle away was the one that kind of was was that painful nail in the coffin. And so I've ever since then I've been afraid, regardless of even before we've been in this chase, like Newcastle away, it remains to me like the big one in my eyes. Like, especially when I looked at it at the beginning of the year and saw like, damn, we played them late again. Like, are you serious? And yeah, that's going to be the one for me where I'm not looking forward to it at all. And I'm going to be. And you know what? I'll probably even cheat and put like another one there in Brighton at home, because I'm actually going to be in South Texas visiting my family because 2 days before that, my brother is graduating from UT RGV. So I'm going to be away from like the tavern and all my friends basically, and I'm going to probably be watching that game solo. And that's why, like, regardless of what happens, like, let's say if for a good reason or a bad reason, I'm going to be by myself, and I'm not going to have anybody who I can like lean on individually, you know? So it'll be like that. That's going to be a rough week for me.
I'm sure I'll be popping around our normal game chat channels, but
Yeah.
So if we don't win the title, we can blame your brother for having the audacity to graduate from college. This is nice and simple.
Audacity, like, how dare you? Like, I was like, can you just move it to another week, like, or 2 weeks from now? Like, come on.
Yeah, like, come on, guys. You got shit to do. Braden?
Yeah, mine. I mostly made peace with the City match. Like, what happens there is going to happen. Like, I think we're fully capable of even getting a win there, but it may not happen, and that's okay. Mine was probably Newcastle away as well, just because it's very. I also have the scars from last season, but in the interest of doing something a little bit different, I'm probably going to go with Wolves, just because if it comes down to that, like, that is going to be the longest 90 minutes probably since the first FA Cup final against. I say the first, like, obviously we had other FA Cup finals against Chelsea,
the
but
first
like,
ever FA Cup final that Braden was in
exactly.
attendance for in
Yeah,
1868 or whatever the hell it was.
yeah, but like the one I think it was 2017, was it? The FA Cup final against Chelsea, with like Mertesacker like coming like basically
you're talking
putting
about
on
the
the
first
45.
trophy we won in however long?
Well, we had like Hull City and Villa, but
Okay.
but like the one that Mertesacker had like not played all season, and then like Koscielny got sent off, and so he had to in the previous match, so he had to come on for the final against Chelsea with Costa and all them. And it's like, fuck this.
Hey, Robbo had a good game there.
Yeah, yeah. Like Mertesacker did, and Holding did the good cop bad cop on Diego Costa, and it was incredible. But that game took forever. Like like it took at least 4 hours. I don't know. Wolves is going to be exactly that. If it's going to come down to whether it's goal difference or whatever, if we need a result in that game, that's going to be the longest match I've watched in a long, long time.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
yeah. I don't know. I don't. We haven't played a really meaningful game on the last day of the season in so long. I'm kind of out of practice with it. So I'm kind of hoping it doesn't come down to that. But I mean, like, Wolves should be done by then. So hopefully, and we're at home. So we should be able to take care of them if it comes to that. But dangerous last words.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wolves
Villa
are
were
just
done last year.
Yeah.
They nearly did it in the City. So
and Wolves are always that team, man, that just they're so like a thorn on your side. That's how I describe them. And yeah, that's a good choice. Good show.
Yeah. I think we're going to wrap up here in a minute, but are there any other big topics you guys want to cover?
no, I don't think so. I mean, I think we pretty much covered most of the run-in and how terrifying it's going to be.
It's going to be terrifying, man. Yeah, now that I'm looking, I can probably pick now, like that same question, I could probably pick every single game and have a good reason.
Yeah, that's the correct answer.
The worst game is the next one.
The worst one is the next one. Like, And at the same time, I said, like, 45 minutes ago, like, oh, West Ham, like, that's a great game to, like, get back on our horse with. And I'm still going to be, like...
Yes, and those are the games Arsenal plays the fucking worst in.
Yeah. So, and then Southampton was rough as fuck, man. Like, they took points off of us, and it was so annoying. So, yeah, every single game, I resubmit my answer, and it's all going to be terrifying because it's been terrifying. I thought I was going to feel a sense of relief after Liverpool, like, oh, like finally that game is off. Like, but nah, man, like the draw, the one negative thing about the draw is for sure, like now all these games are just terrifying now.
Yeah, I think I'm weirdly like least stressed about the City one.
I feel that too. Just, yeah, exactly. I'll echo both of you guys and say like, whatever happens is going to happen. Like it is what it is. Like whatever, man.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't know anything about like if Saliba is coming back or whatever, so I don't want to like dive into all these variables.
Yeah.
So we got to do the question we do on every Suffering from Joy podcast.
Love it.
And we'll start with Braden. So far this Arsenal season, what has been your biggest moment of suffering?
Maybe this is recency bias, but looking at the team sheets that came out for Liverpool Chelsea this past week, and
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
all of them fucking wrestling, it's like you guys are really throwing away what you need to get top four to have your cup final against us.
I think I could audibly hear you throwing shit via text when I told you who the referee for Sunday was too.
Yeah.
Ram, how about you?
I'm gonna say Brentford, man. I thought the 1-1 draw. I think as time goes on and we're counting points and doing maths in our head and doing all this, like initially I was like, it's whatever, a draw. We move. We got to go on, like whatever. But every week it just burns and looms larger in my head. And so in hindsight, that's the worst because I've watched the replay since, and I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like just at all of it. It all is bullshit. And that's it right there.
Yeah.
That's probably the correct answer.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of saying like other than the obvious one, but
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's because I mean anything else you can sort of talk about at least a little bit, but like you know we didn't do anything wrong there and we got completely fucked.
I'll say, you know what then? Tomiyasu, the first goal against City, because I thought up to that point we were going toe-to-toe, like using the boxing analogy, like we were punching them and they were punching us, and I was like, oh, this is good. And we just gave away a cheap one. And just like today, man, Upamecano made a dumbass mistake. They were down 1-0, and you blinked and it was 2-0, and then 3-0. And you're like, you can't do that. You can't make a stupid fucking mistake because against this team you have to be perfect. And I know that sucks, but that's what it is. And that one, I think, because I just remember like, damn it, we were bringing it to them, and now we're down 1-0, and yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the entire. Well, I'm gonna give two answers. I'm gonna go with the entire stoppage time of the Bournemouth game before Reece Nelson scored.
Oh,
Because there were a bunch of times where I'm like, we got it, and then I was just like, nope, I give up. And for the like 3 seconds I actually gave up in that game, Nelson shifts it, pings it into the top corner. We all know we get fucking charged by the FA for celebrating it.
Who cares?
Yeah,
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Fine us. You know, Bruno Fernandes can shove a ref in nothing, and you know Spurs can let a guy onto the pitch to kick one of our players nothing. But yeah, that's got to be it. And then I think the Southampton goal where they leveled, because normally I can go, oh, well, we did this wrong, or like that should have been a foul, or there's some sort of like, you know, Homer thing you can do in your brain, and you kind of look at it and you go, nope, that was a good goal. We just fucked up. And that was kind of the first big, all right, well, maybe this isn't going to go as well season-wise as I think it will. Because, I mean, the United one, like, that was obviously bullshit, chalking off the Martinelli goal.
yeah.
But that one was kind of like, oh, these are tough points to drop. And I mean, I don't know what it is about Southampton, but they've been finding ways to get points against us lately. So it just sort of seemed like, all right, well, we're back to this shit again. Like maybe we'll go for top 4.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was way back in like September or October.
Hey, we're still top of the league though.
Yeah.
So come on.
Still top of the league. Any parting words of wisdom for either of you? From either of you?
I'm just gonna say to y'all and whoever listens, just enjoy the moment, man. It's fun. All the highs and the lows will be they're gonna come regardless. So just welcome them with open arms.
Yeah, I mean, enjoy it while you can. Don't think about it too much. Live in the moment. Braden, anything you want to add?
I mostly kind of what I kind of said earlier with like, if you thought this was going to be easy, you're following the wrong team. Like we're going to have those moments the rest of the way, whether it's the ref calls, whatever. Like there's going to be times where it's just like, if you thought this was going to be easy, it's not it. So like, I'm going to try to keep myself as level headed as I can. And God, I hope we pull this out.
It's going to be very, 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 very worth it if we do. And I mean, we've been suffering with this team to various degrees for various lengths of time. And we appreciate everybody listening to this. And as always, thanks for suffering with us and suffering with Arsenal.
Promise here for Austin Jarrett Stroud. It's Diego for goodness! He has written his name into Austin folklore.
They just won't go away.
Oh, he hits the upright again! That's impossible!
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
Altidore squares it. Dempsey's missed it. Donovan has it. From hope, there is glory.